Hi guys, I hope you're all doing well. Here's a video for the Lab 5 quantity check. So if you've looked at the PowerPoint previously, you know that this is a 4-step reaction. And there are some reagents that do not have a known amount that we will be using. But we are going to perform calculations using stoichiometry to find out the amount of each reagent that we will be using. So if you go to LabFlow, there are 5 questions that we will be answering, and we're going to, the values that we get will be used for the experiment itself. So question number 1, it says, assuming you start with 1.25 grams of pure aluminum, which that is the amount of aluminum we will be using for the trials in lab. So question 1, the amount of potassium hydroxide, KOH in grams, needed to react with all of the 1.25 grams of aluminum. And then the following reaction is given. So reaction 1, we have to find the amount of KOH needed in grams. The only information that was given was the 1.25 grams of aluminum. So we are now going to use stoichiometry to find the amount of KOH needed. So you're going to be multiplying the 1.25 grams of aluminum by 1 mole of aluminum, and then divide by the molecular weight of aluminum, which is 26.98 grams. And to get to KOH, we will be using the balanced equation. So from aluminum to KOH, it's a 2:2 mole ratio. So 2 moles of aluminum and 2 moles of KOH. And now it asks for the KOH in grams. So now we're just going to multiply by the molecular weight of KOH, which is 56.11 grams per 1 mole of KOH. And this value is what you would calculate from the periodic table. So you would add up the mass of potassium plus the mass of oxygen plus the mass of hydrogen, and you would get 56.11. So when you perform that calculation, what value do you get? You should get 2.59 grams of KOH. And that value would be placed inside here. Although if you look at the PowerPoint, it asks how much potassium hydroxide would we use in a 10 to 20% excess. So question 2 in LabFlow asks the amount of KOH needed in grams from reaction 1 if you want a 10% excess. So the value that we would get for number 2 would go in your proposal. So to get, let's see, number 2, the amount of KOH in grams with a 10% excess. So what you're going to do is take the mass of the KOH that you just calculated from question 1, 2.59 grams, and you're going to multiply by 0.10. And the 0.10 comes from the 10% divided by 100% to get a decimal. So when you do that, you get 2.59 grams. And now you're going to take that value and add it to the answer from question 1. So 2.59 grams of KOH plus 0.259 grams. And what answer do you get here? You should get 2.85 grams of KOH. This value will go in your proposal. Okay? So now question number 3 asks the amount of water in milliliters that will react with the aluminum and KOH. And if you go to the PowerPoint, it asks how much water is needed to dissolve the KOH. So again, we're going to be using stoichiometry to get the amount of water. So question 3. Is the amount of water in milliliters to dissolve the KOH. And we're going to be using the mole ratios from reaction 1. So remember, the only information that was given is the 1.25 grams of aluminum. Divide by the molecular weight of aluminum, and now use the mole ratio. So we're going to be going from aluminum to KOH first. So that is a 2:2 ratio. And now we can go from the moles of KOH to the moles of water, which is 2:6. So we have 2 moles of KOH to 6 moles of water. And we do need the amount of water in milliliters, so we know that we're going to have to use the density equation, which is mass per volume. But we need the mass of water first. So we're going to be multiplying by the molecular weight of water, which is 18.02 grams per 1 mole. And then what value do you get there? You should get 2.504 grams of water. So we found the mass but now we need the volume. That is what we will be looking for, because our answer has to be in milliliters. So now we have to rearrange the equation so we can solve for volume. So when you do that, you will get volume equals mass divided by density. So now plug in your values. So the mass is 2.504 grams, and the density is what you would look up, and the density of water in grams per milliliter is 1. And grams cancels out, and you're just left with milliliters. So divide that, and you should get 2.504 milliliters of water. And that is the amount of water that will dissolve the 2.85 grams of KOH. So far in your proposal, you should have the following quantities. You should have the amount of aluminum foil, which is given, which is 1.25 grams of aluminum foil that you will be using. The amount of potassium hydroxide in a 10 to 20% excess, which you calculated in question 2, which is 2.85 grams. And then you need the amount of water to dissolve the KOH pellets, which is 2.504 milliliters. So you should have these quantities so far in your proposal. And these are all just for reaction 1.